Hello, everybody, and welcome to this, I should say, return of the Film Hub NI podcast. We're delighted to be back. People are showing films, so we thought, well, we'll bring back the podcast. And I'm joined down the line from sunny South Belfast with Sara Smith. Hello, Sara, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very well. It's good to see you in a podcast situation again.
Yes, you do.
And we're delighted that our first guests back are Michele Devlin, director of the Belfast Film Festival, and Stephen Hackett, programmer of the Belfast Film Festival. Welcome to you both. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Hugh?
Good. Yeah, we're hanging in there.
One foot in front of the other, I suppose. And we're going to have a chat about the return of the Belfast Film Festival. We're delighted that you're back. And how's it going? Are you all right? Have you remembered how to do it?
It's going great. Yes.
Hey!
Yes, it's going great. We're all back in the office. We're kind of, I suppose we have a lot of premieres happening this year, more than normal. It's great to be back in person from the online experience. I think we did our best with that, and we still have some online stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of it worked, but ultimately it wasn't as satisfying as the in-person stuff. So we're very excited.
Good.
You wouldn't think it to look at us, but we are.
I don't know. I think there's an air of excitement about you both. Are you excited, Stephen?
Yes, I am. I'm a bit anxious and nervous.
Right.
But I think you do forget about it, to be honest. 2 years of not doing it, you kind of, if you're used to running events and kind of dealing with the general public and so on, you do forget some of the detail of it. Yeah,
there's a kind of rhythm that you get out of the way of, I suppose. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you've all weathered the storm. I mean, in terms of, I suppose this is a big question, possibly easier to answer after the festival, but have you changed your sort of approach or your sort of, I don't know, your working practices or any of that sort of stuff? Is a lot more remote and, less in-person team meetings and things like that?
Well, there has been for a lot of the prep up to the beginning of October was all remote. And then we started coming into the office 3 days a week after that. So we were in 1 day a week during September. And then in October, we've been in 3 days. So we're still keeping an element of the remote working. I think it's working well enough with this sort of hybrid, to use that much favorite word at the minute. So that's the way we'll probably go forward for the rest of this year anyway, and maybe into next year.
Stephen, as programmer, because as Michele mentioned, there's so many premieres, and so like the floodgates have opened in terms of the films that were held back last year. Has that been a bit of a challenge, putting it all together in that sense?
Well, I mean, I think getting the premieres was relatively easy. I mean, we did move into November, which the other side of London Film Festival is kind of a good place to be. And I think we always had a kind of idea that we might want to move into the autumn anyway. Okay. So this is just something that's happened now. But I think getting those bigger Northern Irish films in the program is partly to do with the move,
Yeah. Okay. Just timing in terms of anything. But,
so we did obviously get lucky with with some of the bigger films there. I think that's just, I don't think if we were in April we would have got those films necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Sara, you're itching to ask a question about a fellow from Mount Collier Street. Is that?
I think some fella. I think he's doing quite well for himself. Just talking about the program. Before we get into the nitty gritty of all the brilliant films that you're screening, we should really talk about your opening night gala. Screening of Kenneth Branagh's new film Belfast, which is tipped for the Oscars, and the release date's been moved back, and you have it on the opening night on the 4th of November. It's going to be the biggest film event in basically the whole of Ireland for a very, very long time. What can audiences expect on the night, and what do you think of the film without giving too much away?
Yeah, it's definitely a big event for us to put on. It kind of is ballooned out of all kind of proportion in terms of what we were expecting to do, or maybe even 2 months ago. It's kind of been in the pipeline for November for a while, and we're contractually advised to show a film called Belfast at Belfast Film Festival. Like, we've shown films with Belfast in the title at least 4 other times. We didn't show a Belfast story though. which is
Oh,
one
well,
that got away.
yeah, exactly. People still hate on you for that.
Well, so yeah, it's a big event for us. It's kind of stretching us to our limits, but I mean, we kind of have done similar scale events like Good Vibrations in the past.
Yeah.
And Whole Lot of Soul. We've used the Waterfront Hall before, so we kind of know the venue well. But the added sort of aspect to this is the talent coming. We've got all the kind of cast and crew available for this, which is great, you know.
Yeah, that's going to be quite exciting indeed.
Yeah, I think I suppose it's an A-list lineup, and that brings with it from Universal, who are the distributors, a whole raft of contractual obligations for us.
Imagine.
And when you look at it, you can understand why, you know. So Judi Dench will be there, Kieran Hines, Jamie Dornan, Katrina Balfe, all the other you know, talent in the film. So it's great to have that. I think it's really exciting. I think it's going to be a really big night for the city and for the island. We built it as an Irish premiere. It had a screening previously in Toronto where it won the People's Choice Award, which kind of had set it on this Oscars trajectory.
Yeah.
I do think it's likely it'll win Oscars. It's a real feel-good film. I think it's you know, and it's a film of optimism. I suppose it's Kenneth Branagh's love letter to the city, really, isn't it, Stephen? I suppose that's the way I saw it. It's very much a personal story of his. It's a look back at his childhood, very much told from through the eyes of Buddy, who's the young boy in it, and who is absolutely, Jude Hill is brilliant in that very central role. He's in nearly every frame, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
The cinematography in it is, I think the cinematography in it is incredible. It's a very stylized film. And I think Belfast is in for a brilliant night.
What I've heard is it's very different from films about Belfast in the past, in the sense of the cinematography and the way that the story's told. Is that fair to say? Is it maybe a step forward?
Well, I mean, I think the interesting films you could compare it to are like The Long Day Closes, Terence Davis, or Hope and Glory. It's a kind of hyper stylized version of childhood in a way that kind of heightened reality. So I mean, some people might criticize it for not being quite accurate to 1969 Belfast in that way, but it is quite a poetic film that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't it's mainly about family as well, so it's a kind of family drama essentially at heart, from a child's perspective. I think that's I don't think there's been many films like that made in Belfast, Northern Ireland before.
No, not really. I mean, there's I suppose Mojo Mickey Bo and Mickey Bo and Me, or whatever the actual film's called. But no, that's quite interesting. And the young fella Jude Hill has just been nominated for a BIFA award as well. Is that right, Sarah? Was he nominated
on the long list, along with the little boy from Nowhere Special.
It's a great time for Northern Irish child actors.
It really is.
The sky's the limit. There's obviously a huge amount more. One of the stories looking through the program is really the plethora of locally produced work and work that's fronted and led by sort of local talent and stuff like that. I mean, you've got Here Before, which is the closing show on the 13th, and that's written and directed by Stacey Gregg. And then you've got films like Mandrake, Dunedin, which is Irish language film written by Aisling Clark as well, and of course Lyra, the documentary about Lyra McKee. I mean, that's quite a lot of riches in all of that. I mean, I would sometimes worry when I see a lot of stuff like this in the festival program, and you kind of think, well, it can't be repeated next year, or this is. But do you think this is actually a sign of real health in the film industry here?
It's hard to say yet. I mean, we were thinking back to the last time we had a lot of films made locally in the festival features, you know, and that was probably 2012, if I'm right. There was 3. So every year since then, it's probably been 1, maybe none even, you know. So it's this is definitely the biggest year. It's a local festival for local people, as they say League of Gentlemen.
Well,
But I mean, I think that's good. We're excited about that because we don't really get the opportunity to show much local film. I mean, we do in terms of shorts, obviously, but features. We've never had this amount.
And these are good, or the initial kind of feeling behind them is that they're that they're really good. Some of them.
Oh yeah, no, they're excellent. I think it's an excellent crop of films. We've been waiting for Lyra. We'd hoped Lyra would be ready for Docs Ireland in June. And we've been torturing Alison Miller, the director, on that, but it just wasn't ready in time. So there also was a bit of competition around getting the premiere of that with other festivals.
Right.
Here Before has screened, I think, only in Sundance. Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And we've known Stacey Gregg's short film work, we've known her theatre work, and we were really excited about that. This is her first feature, and it doesn't disappoint. It's psychological drama. It's kind of it's one of those films that's and I loved it. It's got a particular style, and it's very kind of for a first feature. It's really well crafted piece of work.
And having someone like Andrea Risborough in it as well, the ability to attract talent like that to come and tell stories here is really good. Really makes a change.
Yeah, so beyond the films and stuff, the festival's paying tribute to one of Northern Ireland's finest actresses, Bríd Brennan. Why should people take note of her work and her career?
Well, I think people might, people of a certain generation might know her firstly from the Billy plays. She's done TV work, a lot of film work, and a lot of kind of smaller parts in film work. Over the years, people will know her from various things like Dancing at Lunissa, and Devlin, films like this. So she's been active. She's been active in the theatre as well. She's a really respected theatre actress. I think Deneen is a film which really stands out in the programme, and her performance is just amazing in that. When we seen her performance in that, where she actually had to learn, Michelle knows more detail on this, but she learned Irish language to do it.
She's not an Irish language speaker, and I was speaking to Double Band about it, and they said she learned every line of the script, from scratch. And when you listen to it, because even we, the word Dinian, which is the title of the film, means stormy weather. It's kind of one of those words that means sort of, it's really a concept, if you like. But in the film, Bríd delivers her lines as if she's been speaking Irish all her life.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she's really good in it, and it's also one of those films that the sort of narrative and the pace of it and the storyline takes you through, and after a while you don't even notice that you're watching something in Irish.
You said Michelle said it's like a Scandinavian kind of thriller.
Oh, right.
So it's got that kind of, it's got that kind of feel to it. You don't really feel that you're just, it feels like maybe it feels like a foreign language film if you don't know the language, but it's got that kind of atmosphere and sense of menace about it.
Loved it, absolutely loved it. I mean, we've got our very own Sarah Lund.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. She plays this woman who's kind of got insights and who's investigating. And her presence on screen, I think, is phenomenal. I just really love her as an actress, and I think she's amazing in this.
Yeah, she really is. And I suppose learning another language puts Robert De Niro getting fat in the shade as well. I mean, I think that's quite impressive. I mean, you've also got Terry George and Jim Sheridan. I mean, there's always been a theme of paying tribute to kind of the heritage of Irish and Northern Irish film, and do you think audiences respond to that in Belfast? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's part of our remit, and we started this project over the last year after Image with the Digital Film Archive. Right, yeah. This kind of online archive of kind of documentation of different film talent on the island. So the Terry George interview is part of that process. We have Chris Parr also being interviewed. So it's kind of we noticed there was a kind of gap in terms of documenting these things, people talking about their work, and maybe people that are less recognized in the industry as well, like Chris Parr, you know, who's been in the background of a lot of really important television and film work. So I think that's kind of the impetus for After Image. But beyond that, we do like Jim Sheridan's got a great body of work, and we've never had him at the festival before. I think it's just
really,
I think that's probably the first time he's been here. So I think just a overview of his career with Trevor Burney, who knows him quite well, will be an interesting talk. You know, apparently he's a bit of a character as well.
Always in Belfast Film Festival, the archive element of the program is fascinating. Not just for people who are interested in film history, but just in terms of seeing things coming out of the archive that, you know, haven't seen the light of day for a long time. There's a couple of projects like that this time. The Attic tapes was the one that caught my eye. Michelle, did you want to kind of fill us in on what that project's about?
So the Attic Tips was is something we've been looking at. It essentially came from Docs Ireland at the beginning, because we were looking at a way to mark 40 years on since the 1981 hunger strikes. And we were looking for something that was about teaching us how to understand that period of time better, you know, rather than rehashing old material. And it came to our attention that there was a series of tapes produced in 1990, and that was just less than 10 years after the hunger strike. And a lot of people who were recorded on these tapes were people who were out on parole at the time in 1990. So there were men and women who'd been in the H blocks and Armagh, and they'd got out on parole, and then they were interviewed while they were on parole. So we thought this was an interesting kind of, and we set about looking for them. And we've been looking for them for about a year and a half, because, you know, there was Dublin, Belfast, that we didn't. Anyway, eventually we a couple of weeks ago found them. So Lawrence McKeown, who was involved in that original project as a very young man when he was out on parole, had set up these interviews. They're professionally filmed on what was, you know, high end in those days, super VHS.
Oh, right.
So, which is, you know, it's not brilliant, but the quality of the tapes has really endured. So we've just had them digitized. Lawrence is going to select 2 or 3 bits out of it, and going to kind of come up with a theme and have a Q&A, you know, in QFT around them. And then we'll probably do something a bit more substantial with them in Docs Ireland next year. But there's 15 tapes, and there are about, I think, 20 people interviewed, and they're all very interesting people, one of whom is Brendan Hughes, Raymond McCartney, Father Des Wilson, Jerry Adams, Bernadette Michaliski, other people who were on the hunger strike. So there's quite an interesting list. And the thing that struck me, and I don't know, Stephen has had a quick look at them, is how young everybody looks. You know, everybody just looks so young in them.
The fashion sense was terrible back in 1990. You know, the state of the jumpers. You know,
I don't know if it's got any better. It's just different now. Maybe, I don't know. That's right. I mean, a project like that, you know, you'll have the event and the screening and stuff like that. But in terms of long term, what does a festival do with material like that once out the other side of the festival?
Well, I think what we're planning to do is get copyright on it all, and maybe hold it, you know, sort of for use. We haven't quite decided, but we know it's gold, what we've got. And we just wanted to do something interesting with it. To be honest with you, Hugh, we've kind of really just found it and haven't even had time to
make a plan, look
through it all yet. It's just been digitized a couple of days ago, and files sent off to the people who are doing the Q&A. But it's very, very interesting.
The other archive one that caught my eye was Spence Brothers, a sort of tribute to the Spence Brothers as well. For those who don't know, the Spence Brothers are the kind of bedrock of kind of artistic film in Northern Ireland in terms of their work in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And they produced hundreds of films. Is that fair to say, Stephen? I think it is. It would be a huge amount. And so you're having an event with Brian Henry Martin at the Strand Art Centre during the festival that kind of pays tribute to them and shows some of the films as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people in the film community here know the Spence brothers' work, but and we've done bits and pieces over the years, but their career is kind of very broad. It's very eclectic in terms of what they've done in terms of educational kind of work with mentoring other filmmakers. They've done straight ahead documentaries, they've done science fiction, they've done horror, and a career spanning like probably 50 years really. So Brian's going to be interviewing them on their career, and we're giving them an award for outstanding contribution.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just to acknowledge them. I mean, I think they've been the work is you've probably seen some of it in the Digital Film Archive, which is, everybody can access that now. But their work is so entertaining and enjoyable to watch.
And at times genuinely moving and interesting. Considering that they were making it on effectively no budgets, their ability to actually tell a story so effectively was really brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way they draft in their friends and neighbors to be the actors. It's kind of, and it's just, at a housing estate outside Comber or wherever. It's just, it's that kind of connection to the local community, which makes it really nice, I think.
Yeah, well, that'll be a great one. Sarah, you want to ask about the funkier side of life?
So the funkier side of film is something that Belfast Film Festival has always been known and celebrated for, and this year sees Japanese surrealism rub up against loony porn, which you might want to explain in a minute. Why does the program need this seedy, wilder side of life to thrive?
I wouldn't say it was seedy.
No, maybe that's a harsh.
Maybe it is a bit seedy, but eclectic and loony porn is kind of one of those films. I mean, the title is kind of a bit of a misnomer, but there is pornographic element to it. It's a kind of critique of revenge porn, really, and it's quite an analytical, didactic film. It goes into the analysis of what representations of sex are in film, and it is quite funny as well. It's like a throwback to a 70s kind of surrealist film from Eastern Europe, really.
Right.
It's an odd film. It's won awards every festival it's played, but it is quite a hard watch. I mean, you have to be not easily offended, I suppose, to watch it.
Okay. I should point out that it's also the BFI new release pick for the next couple of months as well from Film Audience Network. So we are very supportive of the title. Maybe put your preconceptions at the door, maybe, before you get...
Yeah, the first 15 minutes are hard going, but after that, you kind of relax into it. But the Japanese films we're quite excited about that, because we have 3 intern programmers who selected those films. Mai Cheng, Rory, and sorry, I've forgotten it. James. So they've selected the 6 films for that Japan 2021 season. And their tastes are very different, and their choices are very different, very eclectic, and it's really nice to see those different voices come into the festival, different programming voices, really.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's bringing fresh ideas into what you're doing and things like that. I mean, you've got Rose Baker, who programs a shorts program as well, which is it's a very big shorts program this year as well, or it feels like it from the program anyway. Yeah,
we opened the window a bit wider because of COVID, the kind of last year where we couldn't really represent some work. So there's I think we had 160 submissions, and Rose has kind of knocked it down ruthlessly.
Spent a lot of time watching short films.
And, that's the intern programmers were involved in that process too, along with us. So they kind of gained an experience of that kind of selection process.
Right, okay. That's fascinating.
Yes, and we'll broaden out how we deliver that as well, because we're going to give the filmmakers an opportunity to talk a little bit, about their work, just give them a little window so we're kind of trying to get them, to engage and present their work as well in a way that we mightn't have had time to do in the past. So I think that's good.
Yeah, it certainly helps in terms of presentation. Sorry. So It's been lovely to talk to you both. I should, as a final question, ask you what your top 3 picks, or top picks for the festival, or what are you definitely not going to miss? I mean, obviously you have to go and see everything and all that sort of stuff contractually, but what are the things you're most excited about?
I'm going to go randomly here because it's all. We're quite happy with a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, Mandrake, which is a great local horror film, like an independently produced film, but it's a very strong piece of work. If you like folk horror, you'll like that. 100 Years of Happiness, maybe. 100 years of Northern Irish people engaging in pleasurable activity.
Joy.
And Fire on the Mountain,
What's
which
that?
It's an Indian film, a really beautiful film about the kind of rural Indian community that industrialization is kind of taken over their area. But it's a beautiful film. So that's just 3 for me.
And for me, I would say the live soundtrack to the Informer event. I think that's going to be pretty special. So I think that's one I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing Mark Cousins' Storms of Jeremy Thomas on the big screen. I've only seen it on a tiny screen and I loved it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it on the big screen. And Cow is the other one that I'm really
Andrea Arnold's film.
Yeah. Love Andrea Arnold, and I'm really excited about seeing that one.
Well, thank you very much.
And one last question: where can people get tickets for these wonderful events?
Go onto our website, belfastfilmfestival.org, or you can give a ring. The box office number is on the website as well.
Excellent.
Some of them are selling out, so people would need to get their skates on.
Skates. If people still own skates, then they should
get them on.
Well, look, thank you very much, both of you, for your time today. We're very excited about the festival. We're always very proud to support Belfast Film Festival for opening up so much of the world of film to Belfast audiences. So it's great to see you back, and it'll be great to sit in the same room as you watch films again.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Cheers, both. Good luck. Well, thank you very much, Michele and Stephen from Belfast Film Festival. And now, after maybe 2 years, almost nearly 2 years, we're back to the thing that most people tune into this podcast for, which is Sarah's Roundup. Sarah Gunn-Smith's going to give you a full roundup of what's going on in your screens across Northern Ireland. Go for it.
Well, thank you very much, Hugh, for that lovely introduction, and welcome to my legions of fan listeners. Before we get into specific member events and the many other festivals happening over the next few weeks, we can make a little announcement today, which is you probably maybe know about already if you keep an eye on the Film Hub socials. But it's about the return of Collective, which, as people may or may not remember, is our touring initiative to support Irish and Northern Irish titles. So after a bit of a whopper tour with a bump along the way at the start of 2020, which seems like 20 years ago, we are hitting the road again shortly with a really beautiful film which was set and shot in Belfast, and the film is Nowhere Special, starring James Norton and Daniel Lamont, as I mentioned earlier, a little 7-year-old from Ballymena who's just been longlisted for a BIFA award. Such was the power of his performance. Nowhere Special tells the story of John, played by James Norton, who is a 35-year-old window cleaner who lives with his 3-year-old son, Michael. And he was recently diagnosed with terminal cancer and decided he will find the best family to take Michael in after his death. So I'm not going to say any more about that. It is a bit of a weepy one, but in a very subtle way. I think would you agree with that, Hugh?
I think it's a lovely film. It's a very quiet and dignified and moving film, I think, about parenting and sort of mortality and all that sort of stuff. And the performances are, without exception, brilliant. And it's both from the two leads, James Norton and the young fella, and also this legion of kind of chorus of brilliant Northern Irish talent who are sort of, you know, the people that he meets as he goes along, the social workers and stuff like that. I think it's a really, really lovely film. Alberto Pasolini sort of specializes in this quiet, lovely filmmaking, and it's a very different take on Northern Ireland as well.
It is indeed, and you'll be able to do a lot of location spotting if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
from the area. Oh, there's Far Side.
Fans of Whitehead will enjoy it.
Yes, indeed. So audiences can catch it at some venues, which I'm going to list shortly, and we may also have some special guests at some of these screenings. Because part of this project is we really like to bring audience and production, distribution, and exhibition all together. So we're really looking forward to getting started with this film again. And I'm going to really quickly run through the list of dates. They're all on our website if you miss any of this, and all the ticket information is on our website too. So Ormeau Community Cinema, Belfast, on the Thursday, the 11th of November, and at the same evening up at Roe Valley Arts and Cultural Centre in Limavady. On 18th of December, Portrush Film Theatre. 19th of November, Marketplace Theatre and Arts Centre, Armagh. 20th of November, Nerve Centre, Derry. 20th of November, Newcastle Community Cinema. 2nd of December, Dungannon Film Club. 3rd of December, Subterranean Community Cinema in Omagh. 4th of December, Braid Film Theatre, Ballymena. 8th of December, Fermanagh Film Club at the Ardoin. And our final date is Thursday, 9th of December at Flowerfield Arts Centre. So there's plenty of opportunity to catch the film somewhere near you. Okay, so some other things that are happening over the next few weeks is there's so many festivals. It's just festival crazy here. So I'll run through a quick overview of a few of them. Ormeau Community Cinema, who are one of our well, they've been screening for about 3 years or so. So they have a Halloween film festival taking place on the Ormeau Road, which with the most amazing name called Paranormal Activity. Paranormal. They had me at hello. So there are family screenings, a secret cinema event, which I know what it is, which will be really scary. An outdoor Blair Witch project in a wee forest bit off Caroline Road, the top of the Ormeau, which I think is sold out, will be terrifying. And I should really highlight a nice event about cinemas as well in the Pavilion, which is a screening of Strand Stories, a short film about the Strand Art Centre, and the Curzon Project, which was made about the Curzon Project, which is starring our lovely producer Stephen Mullen, who is so if you want to see what Stephen looks like in real life, not just as a producer of this podcast, you can come along to that at the Pavilion on Wednesday evening, and there'll be a chat about, well, it's a horror festival, and this is not necessarily a horror event, but it will be like, so you could watch the Curzon and see what the horror is when your local cinema gets knocked down. So save your cinemas. So that's
save your cinemas.
That's the horror element before your cinemas disappear. So all the information is on their socials and stuff. Banterflix, other hub members have their Dark Hedges Festival running from 25th of October to 30th of October. And they have events taking place in Movie House, Cityside, and Strand Arts Centre, and the Black Box as well, I think.
The Halloween ones at the Black Box, maybe, is it?
Yeah.
It's all on the website.
Yeah, all on the website, and they have titles like Aliens on Stage, documentary, Alien, Jennifer's Body Blade, and many more, including a Irish short horror film showcase. So if horror is your bag, they're the boys to check out. Boys and girls, check out, fill your bag. Yes. Just very quickly as well, Outburst Queer Arts Festival have some really interesting titles at their festival on 14th to 18th of November, including Rebel Dykes, My First Summer, and Cured. So some really interesting titles in there. So have a look at their website. So that's kind of have I forgotten any festivals?
Well, Cinemagic is just finishing now.
Yeah.
Going into it last week when this podcast will be being listened to by the millions of fans out there. And yeah, I think that's everything.
That's it.
Keep your eye out for community cinemas as well. Fermanagh, a screening in November, and Rush as well. So the community cinemas, we're delighted, are coming back to screening again, and audiences are coming back. So check out your local area if you're outside Belfast as well.
Yep, and also we should say Newcastle Community Cinema will be launching their Full Moon Film Festival programme soon as well, coming up in November. So
it's all very exciting.
Oh, it's exciting and exhausting, and go to all the events.
So thank you very much, Sarah. A great roundup as usual. And I mean, it's almost as if you were never away. So yes, so thank you very much, everyone. Thank you as ever to our lovely producer, Stephen Mullen. We will check our website for more details, and we will be putting out a Film Hub fortnightly update as well coming up, and we will be coming back with another podcast in November sometime, I suppose. Not fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think we
we'll
could
see
probably knock one out in November.
We'll see how we feel, and thank you very much, and keep watching films. Stay safe.